Welcome to Musings from the Cyber Trench, the podcast that goes beyond surface-level talk to uncover the real challenges and breakthroughs in public sector cybersecurity. Each episode features fearless leaders and visionary experts who are reshaping security strategies in some of the most complex environments. This is a space for honest conversations, fresh perspectives, and practical insights designed to empower and inspire. Get ready to rethink what's possible and join a community committed to making cybersecurity stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Here's your host, Vishal Masih.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Musings from the Cyber Trench. My next guest today is a 30-year veteran of cybersecurity. In 2014, he founded a cybersecurity company, Cyberhood, to help SMBs and MSPs learn cyber literacy. During his career, my guest has led cybersecurity organizations in web hosting, finance, and manufacturing. Additionally, he leads a cybersecurity consulting that has delivered virtual CISO services to more than 50 companies. He is also a Toastmaster and a fundraiser for cancer research, having raised $150,000 riding for the Pan Mars Challenge in the past 11 years. With that, everybody please meet my guest today, Craig Taylor. Welcome to Musings from the Cyber Trench, Craig.
Thanks, Vishal. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited to be here today. I think this is a perfect topic and a perfect area for conversation that needs to be heard in the world today. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's focus on the topic of the day, which is cyber security awareness training. And I'm like, you have been in this field for a long time. So my first question to you is: if cybersecurity awareness has been mandatory for years, why are phishing attacks still the number one way attackers are getting in? And are we actually training people or just checking a box?
So that's a great question, Vishal. There's actually two or three different parts to answering that. You're correct that awareness training's been mandatory from a cyber insurance and a best practice perspective, but I don't think everybody's been doing it for years. There's many companies out there, particularly in the SMB world, that aren't doing anything today, which is still surprising to me. That said, phishing attacks, when you look at the literature and the studies, Verizon puts out a data breach report that takes all of the breach data from all over the world and summarizes what are the trends. It continues to put phishing attacks at the highest threat vector of what companies are facing. And, the answer to your question is, if we're training people across the board and we're still seeing phishing attacks succeeding, what's the disconnect? Where is the failure happening? And I would say there's probably two or three areas. First and foremost, there is no educating program in primary school, grade school, high school, university, where you graduate with cyber literacy skills having been taught to you. So any new employees that you bring into a company are on social media saying, "Hey, I'm starting today at this company. I'm so excited." And they are targeted immediately because the hackers know they haven't been trained on anything yet. So when you're fresh out of college, you've got a great big bullseye on yourself. That's problem number one. But it's a little bit more of an insidious problem than that, Vishal, because problem number two is that the cybersecurity industry as a whole has been focusing on punishing clicks. I call it sticks for clicks, bigger sticks to wave at your employees to say, "Stop, or I'm going to beat you some more if you click on more links." What psychology and educators have known for decades, if not longer, is that to change employee behaviors, to change anyone's behavior, you don't punish the bad behaviors. You reward and encourage and develop the good behaviors. Think about parenting or dog training. Do you train children by punishing them, or do you train them by rewarding the good behaviors and acknowledging and discussing those things that they're doing well so that they do more of it? That is, there's a fundamental statement from 75 years ago. B.F. Skinner, the father of operant conditioning in psychology, he said, rewarded behaviors are repeated. He never went on to say punished behaviors are extinguished. That's not possible. It doesn't work that way. That's why there's a whole theory in psychology and in incarcerated adults, in the penal systems, in the when you have crimes and punishments for crimes, there's a recognition that the punishments don't deter the criminal activity. It just takes it off the street, puts you in jail, and you can't commit crimes anymore. So it's not a deterrent. It doesn't change the behaviors. It just eliminates them from the public sphere. Dog training, you can train with a shock collar or you can train with treats. And I know so many dog trainers that are enormously successful with treats because the dog enjoys it, the owner of the dog enjoys it, and they just want to do more and more of it. Shock collars, they don't work at all. It doesn't prevent the dog from going across the property line when there's a squirrel or a rabbit across the street. It just is a deterrent. It's not really effective. So that's the second big problem, Vishal, is that the method of training that we're using traditionally in cybersecurity is very focused on punishment theory, which doesn't work. And it's now coming to light in the last 5 years with multiple studies proving that the negative approach doesn't change behaviors. In fact, in some studies, they say it actually leads to more clicks, not fewer clicks on phishing attack emails. So those are the big two. The third is that phishing is getting better all the time, right? AI, artificial intelligence, is making you enabling more and more hackers to get involved in phishing attacks who might not have been able to in the past, make better phishing attacks. You feed it a social media profile and you say, write me 3 or 4 attack emails to target this person. And you get these topics, right? Now you have to jailbreak the AI, but we know that's possible. The guardrails are just not sufficient today to protect AI from being co-opted in those ways. There's sorts of attacks there. Even I've heard of, fraud GPT, and there's another one whose name I forget, but their hackers are turning AI's models into jailbroken models that they can use for attacking. So when you combine all of this, there's a clear and present danger for everyone in this world running a business, working at a business, of very sophisticated, very prevalent, very common everyday phishing attacks that are more damaging when a mistake is made. The outcome of a phishing attack used to be encryption of your files, and that was it. About 10 years ago and 5 years ago, it started to exfiltrate the data so they could release it online as a secondary extortion attempt, right? If you could get your files back from a backup in a ransomware event from a phishing attack, then you could also threaten the company with divulging their student records, their health records, their financial records to the public, their law firm records, their accounting records, and embarrass the firm, losing goodwill and clients in the process. So that's double extortion. About 2 years ago, I heard of a triple extortion where if you're in a regulated industry, the hackers might report you to the regulators to say, they didn't report this to you, did they? They had 30 days, 20 days, 10 days, 45 days to report a breach, and they haven't, have they? So you should go look at them, because here's the evidence that we're in their network. And so they get fined by the regulatory authorities. And that's happening today. And there's yet a fourth way, which I won't talk about publicly, but after our call, I will tell you about it. It is just too diabolical. And I don't want to put more ideas out on the marketplace, but there's quadruple extortion methods now too. So at the end of the day, all of those things are tying back to this, cryptocurrency payment system that is less traceable than money or financial transactions. So it's just turned the world into a very dangerous place.
Correct. Those are a lot of factors, right? But so walk me through how would you do positive reinforcement for, say, like someone clicks on a phishing email?
Yeah, so this is great. So if we all can agree, and maybe there's some people that still feel like sticks for clicks are a good thing, and if you do, go research, the University of Zurich study, the Black Hat presentation from 2025, you'll see that they couldn't find a meaningful difference for people that were trained with a negative or a punishment basis. So flip the script to a positive reinforcement, and let's talk a bit about that for a moment. What does that mean? Well, rewarded behaviors are repeated. We know that. Psychology and educators know that in the classroom and in behavior change studies, people that are rewarded and engaged with gamification or certificates of completion or leaderboards, avatars that grow in ferocity over time, all of those things cause engagement in your end users and a healthy degree of competition with one another to advance your avatar. No different than playing an online video game and you grow your character over time. Well, the best training products on the market today, in my opinion, use a gamification approach that creates engagement, that rewards completing your assignments with certificates of completion. Most degree programs in the world have an ongoing continuing education component. At my company, Cyberhood, every time you complete an assignment, you get a 15-minute credit on a certificate towards your annual allotment of hours. And in our default program, you get 6 hours a year towards what is often 10, 15, 20 hours. That's an enormous benefit for people that are overwhelmed with work and too many things to do and not enough time to do them. If we hand you 6 hours of it, and it's a twofer because you get to be compliant, you get to learn cybersecurity that helps you personally and professionally. It's not just about work, folks. If you're listening to this and wondering, why would I want to do this? You have a family to protect. You have personal finances to protect. You have a personal email inbox to protect. And if you do the positive reinforcement, you get people to buy into the idea of, hey, I can learn this. It's not rocket science. And once you see it and you start to piece it together with the reinforcement approach, people can actually learn this thing. I like to say, Vishal, that we at Cyberhood, at my company, we teach people how to fish, feeding them for a lifetime. What you see with the industry as a whole, punishing people, is maybe they feed you a fish today and you're not hungry today, or you don't click today, but tomorrow you need to be fed again and again. And it just is a never-ending battle. So I think the positive reinforcement is the proven approach from a science perspective, from a affect, how people feel learning cyber literacy skills without the fear of shame and punishment and embarrassment. They get involved. They start to care again instead of being apathetic, which is a huge problem.
So what kind of rewards have you seen that work the best?
So you can oversize your rewards and it's counterproductive. Let me explain to you a story that was told to me in psychology. A young man graduated high school and he was a struggling student. But his parents were so proud of him. They bought him a car, a really fancy car. And they said, you get this car for graduating high school. We promised it to you, in 10th grade, 11th grade, or in junior and senior year. And you did it. You finally got it. Here's your car. And what happens in that scenario for that young man is that they view the accomplishment as the reward they received. In other words, they did the schooling and they passed the grades only for the receipt of the car, not because they were a student at heart, that they enjoyed learning the materials, that they internalized the knowledge. And what that psychology background is, it says that if you give too big of a reward, it detracts from internalization, from the internal, what we call locus of control. The individual did not motivate themselves from inside. It was a motivation from outside, this huge benefit of a car. Now, teachers and educators know this as well. Coaches, I was a level 4 hockey coach under USA certification. Little rewards that acknowledge both the action and an encouragement to try again if you fall down doing a crossover, or if you maybe fail a test, and you get a little encouragement like, Johnny, you can do this. Let's sit down. And where did you have your problems? Okay, I think you're just mistaken here. Let's try this problem another way. There you go. You did it, Johnny. That's a great job. You passed this test. We'll redo the test. And you give little rewards that don't undermine the control. Where the control lives is so important in any educational or behavior change scenario. So if you give little rewards, they're meant to encourage engagement and participation rather than apathy, disengagement, or not caring at all. And so the rewards have to be small, not huge. In the best programs that I've seen, you can do things like, at an all-hands meeting in your company, hand out 5 gift cards for $20 for lunch to the top 5 cyber literate employees, or the ones that are most compliant. And hey, what if everyone's compliant? Even better, just do a random drawing and say, here you go, folks. We just like to recognize the great performance that everyone's doing, because we're all in this together. It used to be years ago, and this is a message that everyone needs to convey to their employees and clients, that we looked at Mr. or Mrs. IT director as responsible for everyone's cybersecurity. It's their job to protect us, not mine. What we all know today is everybody plays a role, because you can click on a link, you can download a file, you can do something that could lead to a really horrible outcome for your company. So by getting everyone involved and building this culture of cybersecurity through little rewards, I mean, the gift card's one idea. Another is just public recognition. Hey, on our biweekly all hands meeting, I'm going to call attention to one person that's done a good job, that's reported, 3 phishing emails that turned out to be real phishing attacks in the last 2 weeks, and share them with folks. Now, John, what did you see in this email? Susan, what did you see in this email that tipped you off? And use it as sort of a secret training approach to recognize the person and learn what they looked at to see that it was a fake email. So those are all small rewards, get you the most mileage rather than enormous rewards.
How would you handle users who don't care to even complete the training? Like, have you seen that?
Well, I have seen it. And yeah, sometimes if you think about dog training and a shock collar, sometimes the dog stops paying attention and not wanting to participate. They cower in a corner because they've been punished too many times. It's a terrible situation. And it's hard to overcome that. Many times I talked to one individual, a gentleman with a PhD, who said, you know what, Craig, I've been failed a phishing test 3 or 4 times in my career. I stopped caring about learning how to fish. I just forward everything to IT. I can't be caught out again. I'm not, I don't think the training ever taught me what I needed to know. I've given up being responsible for this. I'm forwarding every single email that I get that is at all questionable to my IT team. That's apathetic. And there's this old saying that says it's very easy to lose trust by making a mistake, a trustworthy mistake, and it takes a very long time to earn that trust back. The same is true for people that give up caring about cybersecurity. It takes a lot of time and effort to bring them back into caring. All you can do is sit with them and explain how, it's not rocket science. It's actually quite a bit of common sense with a few nuggets of knowledge, and sit them down one-on-one, work through any of the assignments they're doing or not doing, and try to get them to a point where they can see, hey, for example, in our case at CyberHoot, we send out a Hootfish exercise. It's a realistic phishing simulation on a browser window on a website. So we're not sending an email to your inbox to trick you. You actually do this exercise, and it's a wizard-driven approach, and it starts with the sender. Does this sender look safe or suspicious? And we might have one letter differences in that domain name. And that is what hackers are doing. That is the realism of this approach. And if you sit with a person and you explain, here's all you need to know, is that hackers can't typically email you from the domain they're impersonating. That's not outside of business email compromise, which is a rarity. It's not unheard of. It happens a fair amount. But outside of that, there's usually a domain name switch that happens. They'll turn an M in Amazon, Microsoft, Marriott into an R and an N. And it looks very similar. But when the light goes on, they're like, how come nobody ever taught me that? Well, because we were sending you fake emails and we couldn't send a typo squatted domain name in AttackFish because it would be banned by the vendor who gets hold of one spam report and sends you a cease and desist letter. We've had that happen to us because we still do AttackFish. Sometimes our clients, we had one the other day from a bank in the United States that sent us a letter. I don't have it at my desk. It's downstairs, but stop impersonating us. Well, the client set up the fake email phishing test from the bank, got it out. One of their employees reported it, and we have a problem. So we have to take it down and stop using it. But what that is indicative of is the tests that we've been doing with the punishment approach have been inadequate, dumbing the end users down to see a very obviously wrong domain name. But in our Hootfish exercise, it's exactly what a hacker will do. They'll change one letter and hope that you don't pay close enough attention. So, but you sit down with that individual and you show them these nuances, and it's not rocket science. It's pretty intuitive once you see it and you understand it. And then that becomes a 10-second exercise in subsequent assignments, because once you know the rubric, you can go click, 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 done. And you get the certificate, you have passed the test, your avatar grows in responsibility and in its defensiveness. We put armor on it, we give it a sword and a shield and all these things that grow over time. You sit on a leaderboard in your organization. You can climb up a few levels of the leaderboard if you do your assignments on time and you get perfect scores. All of that is designed to make it a game and fun, so you forget that you're actually learning cyber literacy by doing these things, right? It's one of the reasons I love hockey, Vishal. I don't like to exercise. I don't like to go for runs or, work out at the gym. But if I go play hockey, I'm a Canadian by birth, I don't think it's exercise. It is, but the fun of it far outweighs and outshines the effort of exercising. So it's not a workout to me. It's time with my friends. It's a lot of physical activity, a really good sweat, but it's buried underneath the fun and excitement of a game.
That really helps, Greg. So the question I had in mind was, so like you talked about fear, like if they are scared, they don't trust themselves or they don't trust the actual training. But what about scenarios where people just don't care? Like, would you let me change the way I am asking the question? So, would you put a deadline for someone to finish their training?
Yes, I absolutely would. Here's the flip side of all of this. Is there a place for consequences in cyber literacy education? 100%. Absolutely. The cost of damages from a mistake is so great, you have to hold people accountable. And you can put it to your employees this way. I could treat you like a dog and put shock collars on you and beat you when you make mistakes, or I can make it fun and entertaining, and you could still learn how to protect the company. I've chosen the positive, responsible way that makes it fun and enjoyable and gamified. I've done everything I can to bring you to this table of cyber literacy education. You have to do the work. And if you don't, there's no raise for you if you're not compliant. There's potential consequences with HR if you continue to be non-compliant. The consequences to our company of a mistake are enormous. And listen, if you're 100% compliant and you make a mistake, there are no consequences for you. You're going to be a get out of jail free kind of card because you did your assignments, you engaged, you did your best. And what I used to tell my kids on the ice was this: if you're not falling down, trying things that are hard, then you're not trying hard enough. I don't want you to practice what you're good at. I want you to practice what you're not good at so you get better. That's the approach with employees. Have consequences, have deadlines, have conversations with them, but tell them that basically we're giving you the most enjoyable path to knowledge that you can have with a positive reinforcement work area. If you don't take it doing it this way, God help you, the next job you're going to get is going to be doing it the old way, and you're not going to enjoy that at all. But it is very dangerous for mistakes. So please do your part, and there are consequences if you don't.
Have fun, but if you don't even try, there will be consequences.
Right. And the opposite is also true. If you're compliant and you make a mistake, the consequences should be greatly reduced because you did everything you could. Look, people will always have accidents. That's why we have insurance, car insurance, life insurance, cyber insurance. No one is perfect. We don't expect perfection. No one is expected to be perfect here in our company. And you extrapolate to all your companies. But the reality is if you fail and you were never compliant to begin with, man, you are being irresponsible, and we're going to have to treat you as an irresponsible employee.
When it comes to cybersecurity training, how do you see it being handled or performed differently from an SMB point of view to, say, a large enterprise?
Oh, great question. So I was involved in a big debate on Reddit the other day, and we were both right. The gentleman I was talking to was correct, and so was I. But we didn't know we were talking about different populations of users. His or her argument was that the biggest source of breaches today is a lack of privileged account management and asset management. And he or she wasn't wrong, because he was talking about enterprises. And enterprises today have the biggest problem they have is all the what you call tech debt of accumulated hardware, software, unpatched systems, forgotten systems, asset management, and then the privileged account management as people move between roles and jobs and all the different privileges that they have and managing that. And that is how Verizon and Mandiant in their reports say large enterprises are more often breached through a lack of asset management and privileged account management. I was arguing, on the other hand, that it is, hackers follow the least path of least resistance. Let's put it that way. I think of a river flowing and water flowing and there's rocks in the river. Hackers just go around the rocks and come back, keep going, right? They want the easiest way to hack a company. And if you look at SMBs up to mid-market, it's phishing attacks, it's social engineering attacks, it's password hygiene attacks, right? And then mid-market, 5,000 employees, 500 to 5,000, they're in the middle. They have asset issues and privileged account management issues and patching issues. They also have social engineering issues as well on the other side. And so they straddle both sides and have arguably a bigger target on their backs because they have more money and they're less hard to breach than the enterprises. And they're more profitable to breach than the SMBs. Does that mean hackers don't target SMBs? Heck no, they target SMBs because it's fish in a barrel. There's some that are not doing any training, right? And so, that's pretty much, depending on what target audience you're trying to protect, you need to focus on different areas. And by the way, let's put it clearly, all three require awareness training and positive reinforcement and gamification to keep people engaged and participating and learning and moving forward, especially when they hire brand new graduates out of universities that have no training. So everyone needs to do the awareness part. Everyone needs to do the phishing part, but you also have to add on those other layers.
So from the enterprise side of things, you focus more on privileged access management and asset management. The SMB side is more social engineering and phishing.
I agree. Yes.
So for like CISO or a CEO, like what thing they could change tomorrow to make security awareness training actually stick?
I think we've covered that one for quite a bit of this call. The positive reinforcement is what makes people behavior change. Think of a slot machine. Slot machine is the most powerful and addictive tool that the humans have ever created. Pull the lever, pull the lever, pull the lever. Eventually, you're going to get a reward, right? It's called an intermittent reward schedule of reinforcement schedule. And I trained rats to press a lever in college in my psychology degree to get a pellet of food. And you start with a 1-for-1. Press the lever, get a pellet. Press the lever, get a pellet. But you quickly move from a 1-for-1, meaning a fixed schedule. An intermediate is press it 5 times, get a pellet. And they know they have to press it 5 times. If they're getting hungry, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they grab it without even stopping. They just know it's coming. Then the most powerful reinforcement for behavior is the intermittent. So you can press it 5 times, 10 times. You don't know. It could be on the first press or the 10th press. You're going to get a reward. That's what a slot machine is. And that's why people get addicted to them so badly. But it changes their behavior because they're searching for that serotonin fix of a win, right? Just like scrolling on our phones is little tiny dopamine hits all the time. It's really addictive because it's a reward mechanism. Our brains and our bodies were designed to reward that attention to something, and it gives us a chemical benefit. So that's what would make the biggest change in security awareness and have it actually stick, is to keep small rewards engaged in the program, public recognition, free pizza lunch. Like if in our company at Cyber, we have the ability to create tenants, and we have a lot of school districts that use our platform, and they have multiple schools in the platform as individual tenants, and they compete with one another to get the highest scores across the school district. And then they get a free lunch once a quarter or once every 6 months, and they get bragging rights, right? The middle school was the winner of this quarter's, cyber literacy, cyber smarts. And we thank them for all pulling the line, because schools, let's face it, they've been targeted a lot by ransomware because they carry cyber insurance. They have mature processes around handling ransomware events. They call certain law firms to help protect them from disclosure laws. They've got it all dialed in on how to handle these breaches. But why have so much time and energy spent on recovering from a breach? It's not a bad idea, when you should maybe just put a little more effort into not being breached to begin with, right? That would be amazing.
Let's change gears a bit. So how does Cyber does it? Like, do you have like video trainings? Is it like a portal, or is it in person?
Yeah, so CyberHoot was designed first and foremost to remove all of the different points of friction in delivering awareness training to your employees. What's that friction? Well, from the end user's perspective, it's having to remember where to log in to get your training. We send assignments via email to your inbox. We remind you when you forget. We keep reminding you until you do it. And if you didn't do last month's, when you do this month's, we'll tell you at the end of your training this month. It could be a video assignment, 3 micro trainings, by the way, Vishal. We don't do 45-minute trainings. We don't even do 10-minute trainings. We only do 3-minute trainings at most, often 2 minutes and that sort of thing. But we remind you when you finish your video this month, we'll pop up a screen that says, hey, wait a minute, Vishal, you didn't do last month's. Here it is here. Click now and just get it out of the way. And so we give you every opportunity to be compliant. And then when you finish, we give you your certificate of completion. We tell you your avatar has grown from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. And by the way, all those avatars are in high resolution images of owls with armors, and it's kind of a cool little side note. We didn't think people would care, Vishal, but we got support tickets almost every month saying, how come my colleagues ahead of me, when we've done the same exact assignments? And we go and we look and we say, well, Susan or John, you did your assignments late. And just like in school, you got less marks when you turn in your assignment late. And oh, by the way, you got 90%, but your colleague got 100%. So that's why they're a little bit ahead of you. But you're doing great. Keep it up, and maybe you'll grow beyond them in the future. We have a leaderboard now where it's an anonymous leaderboard. You can say, oh, look at Vishal can look at his rank within the company of 50 people, 70 people, and you're at spot number 7. Excellent. You're 7 points off the lead, or 7 spots off the lead. But this is what how you have unintended consequences in life, Vishal? I'm always thinking in my head, what's the unintended consequence of this? Managers who typically ignore training because they're too busy, they see their leaderboard status at 38 out of 40, and they suddenly start doing their training because they can't be a leader in the company and be dead last in the leaderboard, right? What if somebody finds out? So it has this magical ability to boost everybody's engagement, having that leaderboard in there. It's a magical thing. So those are all different things that we're doing at Cyberhoot to reward, but not too big of a reward that we take the focus from inside the individual, learning these skills, a lifelong learner, a cyber literate person. I'm learning this because I think it's important, and putting a reward so big that it just becomes, I'm only doing it because they give me free lunch every Tuesday. Yeah, that's not going to work. They're not going to pay attention. They're not going to really understand the concepts we're teaching.
So how long does a typical program last? Like, is it like continuous or is it annual?
Awareness training is like physical fitness, Vishal. If you try to go once a year to the gym on January 3rd and do a 6-hour workout, the best thing that could happen is you get really sore muscles and you never want to go to the gym again. The worst thing is you hurt yourself because you pull a muscle because you just worked out for far too long. If you try to do awareness training, this is one of my big pet peeves, in a 1 hour a year sit down with everybody, it's useless. I mean, for 20 minutes after it, they'll be talking about who was snickering and not paying attention in the training, not about the training. And then it's lost. You need to do periodic training. And what we found as a really, really good periodicity or frequency is a once a month video of 2 to 3 minutes and a once a month hoot fish exercise, because phishing is so prevalent, to just practice that muscle memory. So when you go to your inbox and you see an email, go, this doesn't look quite right. You go immediately to the sender, delete, or forward to IT and delete, because you've confirmed it's a phishing attack. So that is the frequency that really works well. But you can't stop, because like physical fitness, you become out of shape if you don't keep going to the gym. So it doesn't take a lot of time. And this is something we've learned in physical fitness too. You can do high intensity interval training, HIIT, for 3 to 5 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week, and you can stay in shape. Oh my God, for 20 minutes a week, I can stay in really good physical shape. Or stretching, or that's why yoga is amazing, because you do these little yoga stretches and all of your limber and it's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't take hours and hours and hours. So I think that is the best frequency for anyone listening to this. You have to do it every month, once or twice a month, in different modalities, right? We have videos. You read the questions after the video. You get an explanation of the context of the questions in an email that gets sent to you afterwards from Cyberhoot. We're trying to give you as many modalities, visual, audio, written, to teach you these skill sets so that it sinks in and you can digest it, but always in little micro trainings that don't take too long, so you feel like it's just a burden.
I'm curious, like, how do you handle deepfake training?
Well, it's a knowledge thing, right? Look, deepfakes are not something many people have experienced yet, but they are coming. If you watch videos on YouTube or Facebook Reels or any video program, Vine and all those different TikTok, I think the number is 40% of them are AI generated. So it's not a real, it's not real life that happened in front of your very own eyes. Sometimes it's obvious because there's like whales floating above the ocean and swimming around, but other times it's very subtle, right? The reality is our reality as humans is going to begin to blur more and more between real life and what can be created with AI. Deepfakes is one of those areas where a little bit of knowledge goes a very long way. What is the ultimate purpose of a deepfake? It's some form of financial gain. It could be through notoriety on your YouTube channel because more people watch your YouTube, so you get to charge more for advertisers and you make more money. It's money driven there. If you're trying to extort people, right, there's a new brand of deepfake hacking where people will call or get video or voice capture of a CEO or a CFO in a company, and they'll put it into an AI tool that can mirror that voice and create an identical sounding CEO, CFO who calls the other party up and says, I need a wire transfer for that purchase. Remember, we were talking about purchasing this company? Well, it's going through and I need the wire to go here now. Do it immediately. And the simple fix for that, and everyone listening to this should take a moment in your next team meeting, your next leadership meeting, establish a safe word for financial transactions and a secondary method of a forced phone call back. So when your CFO calls you up and says, I need to wire money, you say, sure. What's our safe word for financial transactions? Don't share it with anybody. Don't even tell the person on the phone if they plead and beg for it. Don't do that. Just say, well, I'm going to have to call you back because you don't know the safe word. And they'll do everything in their power to not let you hang up. But it's a fake at that point, right? And this is also true for families. Don't miss out creating one with your spouse or your significant other, because this happened to my stepmom and my nephew. She got a call from her nephew saying he had a car accident and he needed $10,000 to get out of jail. And could she bring it to him? Could she wire it to him? Not bring it, but wire. So she asked my brother to go to the bank with her, and she wouldn't say why. And he was very suspicious of her. And finally she said, because your son has had a car, blah, blah, blah. She explained what was going on. And he was like, well, let's just hold on a moment. And he called his son, her grandson, and he picks up. He says, hi, Dad. How you doing? Having a great day here. How are you? And her face drops. She's like, what do you mean? I thought you were in jail. No, Graham, I'm just blah, 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 blah. What he's doing. It's happening. And this was a year ago. This is happening more and more. So you have to have a safe word with your family members too. You make sure it's not something that comes out in everyday, conversation. And then call that out when someone has an accident or emergency. Do this with your romance scams too, right? Oh my goodness, there's that as well. There's all sorts of different scams. We cover that, by the way, Vishal, in all of our videos. We produce 12 new 2 to 3 minute videos a year at Cyberhoot. And we had one last year on ishing attacks. So phishing, smishing, quishing, and vishing. That's voice, QR code, SMS text, and email. Then we had another one on financial scams, like overpayment scams. You sell something on Facebook Marketplace, someone sends you $300 when you only wanted $100, and then they immediately send you a note. Oh, can you wire back or give me back $200 because I overpaid by accident? No, they didn't. They used a fraudulent card. You're not going to get paid the $300, so don't send anything back. Romance scams, charity scams. If there's a tragedy in some area of the world, suddenly websites pop up all over the place. Donate to the cause, be a good human being. And if you don't check that charity out, it could be a scam. They're just pocketing the money. So we cover all these kinds of personal and professional problems, threats that we all face in our annual videos, all automatic, 12 new videos a year. You never watch the same video twice, but we cover the emerging threats, all kinds of things we could talk about. But
it's nice how you also focus on the personal side of things besides just work or just being professional.
Yeah, because, as you're an employee for 8 or 9 or 10 hours of the day, the other 14, you're a person, right? You could be attacked, and if your identity is stolen or you have a financial crime, you're not going to be a very good employee. And what's more important, though, is it builds engagement, because I'm learning things that don't just protect my company, it's protecting my family. And that buys engagement. I shouldn't say buys, it encourages engagement, because the employee says, I'm not just doing this for the company that doesn't pay me enough, that works me too hard, all those things that people go through people's heads. I'm doing this because I'm going to protect myself and my family and learn these really important skills that no one else has ever taught me. And most of all, it's fun to do it. So I don't mind it.
So this has been a very interesting conversation, Craig. Now I would like to shift, and it's time that my audience and I get to know you a bit better. So where did you grow up? In Canada?
I grew up in Canada, in St. Catharines, Ontario. It's actually a much smaller town than that, but that's the only place anyone will ever find on a map. And I've spent the first half of my life in Canada going to the University of Guelph, have a degree in psychology. But I quickly learned that my degree, in order to get a job in psychology, you need a PhD. And I was tired of school. I was it was a lot of effort for good grades for me, right? I got good grades. They were A's and B pluses, but it took so much effort. I was always jealous because my brother's a lot easy. He barely worked hard at his school and he got A pluses all the time. He was super smart. He turned into the clinical psychologist, right? But so I spent the first 25 years, 27 years in Canada, 26 actually, and then moved to the States when my now ex-wife got a job at the Mayo Clinic. I was able to move in that direction. We had to take that opportunity. It was an amazing opportunity. And we moved to the US 27 years ago and had 2 kids, and they put down roots in the US. And so now I am always tied and locked in as a US citizen. I am a US citizen now to the United States and supporting it and helping companies succeed here.
So I guess you played a lot of ice hockey.
Yes. Yeah, I did. And I still do. I could have played this morning, but I didn't. I skipped today. I played yesterday. I'll play Friday and Saturday. So I play 3 or 4 times a week. I like to mountain bike. I like to do fundraising for cancer research. There's a really good fundraising activity here in the Northeast of, particularly in Massachusetts, called the Pan Mass Challenge. And my son and I get to do this together. Over the first weekend in August every year, we jump on a bike. Well, we prep for it for many months, riding many, many miles on our road bikes. But in that first weekend in August, we get on our bikes and we ride 192 miles in 2 days. That's all it takes. The first day is 109 or 10 miles, and it takes about 7 or 8 hours. There's a lot of riders on the road, like 6,000 of us, 7,000 of us. So it's not something where it's a race to the finish line. We are socializing while we ride and talking and really trying to just make it through the 110 miles. That's a long way. Your tush gets a little sore by the end of that. Getting on the bike on Sunday, oh my goodness, it is so painful. But we do that because, number one, I'm healthy enough to do it. But I think my son and I, we've raised over $150,000 for Dana-Farber, and they have created novel cancer treatments, and they've created ways to reduce the negative side effects of cancer treatments over the last 25 years. The PAMAS Challenge has raised over $1 billion since 1980 when it started. And not all of that money, I think there was multiple charities in the beginning, but most of it has gone to the Dana-Farber Cancer Research Institute. And they've come up with groundbreaking treatments for everything from some of the more stubborn cancers to the less well-known or less common cancers. You know, it's really a tragedy when a young kid gets an unusual cancer and there's not a lot of options for treatment. And those are the things that some of the funds that we raise helps to develop new treatments for those kinds of situations. So you try to give back to the community a little bit. I think that's what life's all about.
Why did you pick that particular chat?
Charity. I have to blame one person. One of my best friends was doing it for 3 years on his own. He joined the Boston Bruins Foundation team. That's the former Boston Bruins hockey players, from the NHL. They had a team, and they were always looking for additional helpers to jump on the team and raise funds. And once every October we give a check to the to the Pan Mass Challenge, which then turns it over to Dana-Farber. Somewhere around 250, 300,000 each year, but they do that through 30 or 40 riders. And Sean, my buddy Sean, was on that team, and he looked at me one day and he says, "Hey, why don't you do this with me? You like to ride. I like mountain bikes, actually much prefer mountain bikes than road biking." And I said, "Well, I don't know the first thing about fundraising." But then I found a way to raise the money. I run a hockey tournament for 150 hockey players one day, usually in May. And oh my gosh, everyone is so generous during that tournament. They're buying tickets and they're paying an entrance fee. And we raise $20,000 every year, just about. And the rest is history. That's why it was my friend Sean who got me involved to begin. Then his son joined him and my son joined me. And what a wonderful family event. And we have multiple teammates who have their father, daughter, father, son riding on that Boston Bruins Foundation team.
That's very nice. Yeah, I think it's a nice way to also create that bond with your son too, right?
It is. Yeah. It's important. I think my dad was my hockey coach growing up, and I was his hockey coach when he was growing up, and my daughters as well. And it's important to give back to the community, because what some people listening to this, well, I don't have time to donate to the community. I'm a Rotarian as well. Christmas tree sales just last month. What you get back far outweighs and outshines what you put in. In other words, the 192 miles was really not that hard physically. At the end of the day, I mean, I'm in pretty good shape, and so is my son, and we can do it without too much struggle. But the amount of goodwill and companionship and friendships we build out of this, it just far outweighs what we've put into it. It's like what goes around comes back around tenfold. So I guess you could say I'm a little selfish doing these community service things, because I get so much more out of it than I put in. I don't know. Is that fair?
That is a good way of being selfish.
Yeah.
This has been great, Greg. Tell us how people can reach you. Please share your contact information.
Yeah. So first and foremost, you can go to cyberhoot.com and you can learn about our platform there and our product. We can also do a demo with you. If you send an email to sales@cyberhoot.com, we will be able to reach out to you and give you pricing, or even just book a demo for you. Our website gives you a little bit of that information as well. I'm on that email, so if you want to reach out to me, you can still send it to sales@cyberhoot.com. We do have a special gift for you today, Vishal. Anyone that signs up and mentions your, Cyber in the Trenches podcast, we will give a 20% discount on all fees for 1 year off of whatever the published pricing is. And we have special discounts for nonprofits, governments, educators, and charity organizations, in addition to what I'm talking about now. So we really try to practice what we preach. We want to make the world a better place, leave it better than when we got here. We want to do that through cyber education of very simple things that most people are never taught well and are often taught with punishment. We're doing it positively. Our new logo is laugh, learn, and hoot up. That's what we like to say. Hoot up, yes, because of Cyber Hoot.
Yep, nice. I think the background that you have coming from psychology has played a big role in the way you are tackling this problem.
I think it has, because psychology has studied how humans think and what motivates them. How does behavior change? What creates the most behavior change versus the least behavior change. And when you study it from a multidisciplinary approach, and I mean cybersecurity from a multidisciplinary approach, you can look at it from psychology, you can look at it from educators, right? Think of your best teacher that you've ever had teaching you a class or a subject. Was there ever a punishment involved in her classroom or his classroom? It was always empowering and lifting you up and saying, you can do it and you can learn this and you're doing a fantastic job. There was so much positivity and positive reinforcement. That's what teaches people things. And it's quite common sense. Why cybersecurity is focused on sticks for clicks, I cannot fathom, other than, the people running the show, Kevin Mitnick, KnowBe4, and all these different companies, they were brought up on a punishment basis first. And I don't think they did it intentionally. Everyone wants this noble cause of not letting people click on links that can cause damage. But they've missed out on the psychology of how to make that happen. That's where we really want to refocus the industry on positive reinforcement.
Well, Greg, before we end, I have one question for you. Which is your favorite ice hockey team?
My favorite ice hockey team? Well, because I'm on the Boston Bruins Foundation team, I do have to say the Boston Bruins. I did grow up as a Leaf fan in Toronto, just across the lake. But when I lived in Minnesota, I followed the Wild. And when I lived in Delaware, it was the Philadelphia Flyers. I'll tell you a little secret about me. I've played against 3 alumni teams, the Toronto Maple Leaf alumni, the Boston Bruins, and the Philadelphia Flyer alumni. I got to go on the ice with Dave Schultz, and he got me by the face mask at center ice and shook me around and said, "Hey, punk, settle down. You're not going to embarrass us, and you're going to cause somebody to get hurt. So just calm down." And I was all excited because Dave Schultz, one of the biggest tough guys of the 70s and 80s, had given me a face wash. That's a very hockey term for anyone listening to it. You'll know what I mean. But so it's kind of my passion in life is hockey and these different sports. So it's the Boston Bruins.
Awesome. So if the Boston Bruins are playing Toronto Leafs, you will support the Bruins?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I do that also because my brothers who are in Canada are all, one is a diehard Toronto Maple Leafs fan. The other 2 live in Ottawa. All of them live in Ottawa. So the other 2 are Ottawa Senator fans.
Awesome. Okay. Well, this brings us to the end of the episode. Greg, thank you again. And it was a real pleasure speaking with you today.
Vishal, the pleasure was all mine. You are an excellent interviewer and just your insights are superb. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Musings from the Cybertrench podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.